Hello, my name is Christopher, and this is Only Phils. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.
So what has been your experience with failure?
Um, Failure at an early age wasn't really common. I had pretty much succeeded at everything I did all the way up to fourth grade. And then our family kind of went into a stressful situation where they wanted to use drugs and they didn't really want to work with the tools that were given to them. So I found myself going out to friends' houses and doing chores and mingling that way. And then when we started moving from California to Oregon back to here, that's when I really kind of just started giving up and started failing. And my only success at that point was football. School, I started failing all my grades, everything. So that's that was my first experience with failure.
So you were a good football player.
Yes, I was a good football player. It was easy to either be bigger or have more ambition to want to run, on plays where people would be tired and wanting to give up. It was easier to just continue to even use some of that anger and outlet in football.
So you had a good willpower.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. I think willpower is one of the first survival things that we learn. And if it wasn't for failure, we probably would never forget those things.
Yeah. So you mentioned drugs. What's been your experience with drugs?
Drugs are a hot commodity. Anybody that has experienced failure and has experienced lack of will, it's very easy to use methamphetamines. Methamphetamines is a very ambitious, very vigorous routine. It has its ups, but mostly it has its downs. Anytime you use meth, you're going to come across people that are just tattered, lack of showers, lack of hygiene, lack of supplies or anything that it takes to live a normal daily life.
What got you into meth?
When I moved back after my first relationship, which failed, I started hanging around my mom and my brother-in-law, and they were using drugs a lot. They were in the house always using drugs, and one day I just asked, "Hey, can I have some of that?" And they said, "Sure, here you go."
What was it like using for the first time?
The first time using was kind of as if wasn't high at all. It was just like taking a couple pills, It was like, and then throughout the day, I started feeling the hots, the sweats, stuff like that, and then that's when it took its toll for its worst. It kind of just became habit at that point.
So it's just one time?
Yeah,
you
just
felt
one time.
addicted?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. How long have you used for?
I've been using for 13 years.
Wow.
No, excuse me, 12 years.
Do you think you'll ever be free of it?
Yes.
How do you think that's going to happen?
Probably either getting into rehab, which is my next goal right now. Actually, as of yesterday, that was my goal. Either going to rehab or going back to prison.
Do you think prison could help straighten you out?
Yes, prison does help. I mean, it has its ups and has its downs. When you go to prison, you don't have any. If you're like me, you don't have any support. You don't have nobody there to call whenever you're bored. So I would just have free calls just going to waste because I had nobody to call. So I would just sell them for coffee or whatever.
So when you were growing up, you didn't complete high school, did you?
No, I dropped out 2 weeks before completion. I had a disagreement about my senior project, and they refused to graduate me and let me do my senior project afterwards. So I just dropped out. I said, "I'm not going to follow your guys' program if you're not going to work with me."
Do you regret that decision?
Yes, absolutely. I regret that decision. I think I should have went to college and played football. And even if I continued to scrape by, it would have been better than going out here and living on the streets of Boise.
You think you were that good that you could have played college ball?
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you went to prison. How long did you go to prison for?
I went to prison originally 2.5 years. It was a year and a half, and then they flopped me for mental health, which is unheard of. And then I did one more year, and then they let me out on probation. And then I absconded, and they sent me back, and I topped out 5 years.
So 5 total years.
5 total years, yeah.
When you went to prison, were you scared?
Yes, I was scared. Everybody that comes on the streets, they have enemies, and especially in the gangs, because the gangs are notorious for, just having a bad look at somebody or just disagreeing with anything about somebody, and they'll instantly target you and attack you. And if you have any kind of defensive mechanism, natural just attention, you don't want to be talked to, disrespected or anything, it makes them even come worse. with more people.
When you were in prison, what was the worst part about being in prison?
Dealing with the diverse culture. There's a lot of sex offenders. There's a lot of people in there for just different things. There's a lot of drug charges. There's a lot of thefts, and there's a lot of aggravated stuff. So like have that diversity, you really had to find a place to lock in and show who you were. And mine was the basketball court. So as soon as I got on the basketball court and started showing my skills, people instantly let off me. Some people even started supporting me. And then that support could come off in the wrong way too, because people could instantly invite you into their gangs or stuff like that.
You said earlier that you thought going back to prison could actually help you get clean.
Yes, so they do have programs there. Like one time I went to the farm and worked there for a while. As long as you don't get any like DORs, disciplinary reports, then you're good. You can pretty much just stay in like a minimum custody area, go to a work center. Idaho has very good prison facilities to facilitate that type of lifestyle.
So when you were in prison for the 5 years, you didn't use drugs the entire time?
In prison, no, I don't use drugs. I go to school every day. I program. It's just out here I'm homeless, so I instantly gravitate towards the drugs and the people.
When you left prison, did you think, I got it, I'm not going to use again,
Yeah,
I'm free?
Yeah.
What brought you back?
It's easy to conform to a homeless lifestyle, doing drugs and helping someone buy it, because people are always coming to you, hey, can you give me a sack, hey? And it's just so easy to get somebody a sack and get high with them.
How long have you been homeless for?
Pretty much since I was 19, so 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
So the only time you really had a permanent home was when you were in prison, basically.
Or in high school, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's rough.
Yeah.
What's the worst part about being homeless?
The worst part about being homeless is you don't really have a safe place to go. You're always dependent on people, and then those people that you're dependent on are not very dependable. So you're easily prey. You're prey to the streets. Like whether you go get a job or not, like getting to your job every day. Recently, I was run over by a car. So like right now, I can't even drive. I can't drive. I can't walk. I can't do anything. So I'm pretty disabled right now.
How did that happen? How'd you get run over?
Friends who had asked me to give them drugs needed their car pushed and start, and I was pushing their car. And when I went to jump in the back seat, my right shoe got caught in the street, and then it pulled me out of the car, and then ran over from my ankle all the way up to my knee, right over the top of it. And those people won't give me their insurance or nothing, so now I'm like having to get an injury attorney and having to get them to pursue the charges so that I can get my medical and everything taken care of.
Wow.
Yeah.
That pain must have been pretty bad. So your whole entire lower leg basically got ran over by a car tire.
Yeah, when it happened, my whole body went into shock, and I was just like tossed like a rag doll. And the only thing I could think was like, this is real, like this is what happens when you get hit by a car. Like you go into like complete life shock, and it was just my leg, So I was like thankful. I was like, okay, it's just my leg, and I got up and I got in the car and we just kept going because I literally had to push start it. So if I would have jumped in right after I got run over, then we wouldn't have been able to drive. We would have been stuck there. So.
Wow. What do you think your future looks like?
Probably collecting Social Security disability and trying to take care of the things that I lack, like the enjoyment of discovering new skills and stuff. I'd have to make up in like writing stories or doing story casts like this where I can share information with people and broaden people's views of things.
If you were going to write stories, what would you write about?
Anything. I have a broad mind of fantasy. I like the Roman histories, Christianity, stuff like that.
Did you do any writing when you were in prison?
Yeah, I did. Nothing I could ever recall on though, because I threw most of it away, scrapped it.
Yeah. What would your dream life be? If you could be anywhere doing anything, what would it consist of?
A perfectly average world where I could help broaden people's knowledge on things and live a completely average life.
So you just want to be normal?
Yeah, it's normal.
That's so basic, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it should be easy to achieve normalcy, but sometimes it's so tough.
Yeah, it is really tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But good thing we have people like you who can understand that part of us and just simply say, you're right, you're wrong, you're wrong.
For sure, thank you. So how has drugs impacted your relationship?
Drugs were something I never had thought of before, and then a girl I had fallen in love with overnight, and it I was susceptible, and I should have seen it coming, but coming from my background, I didn't. She was introduced to drugs and alcohol and smoking cigarettes. I was not in any of that. And then when our relationship failed, I started using drugs as a coping mechanism, and then that brought her back, and then she left again after that, and I just realized that drugs don't make anything better. Like, people just want a relationship so they can use drugs. So yeah, it's impacted me because it made me feel lowly and you know, unholy and unworthy, and all those things were wrong. It was completely me feeling like I could do something for somebody, but really they were just trying to use me to use drugs. So
Do you think a relationship could ever work with hard drugs involved?
no,
No chance.
no, too much schizophrenia, too much distrust, too much looking over your shoulder, and then yeah, there's just way too many issues there.
Do you feel like, do you feel kind of paranoid now using drugs?
Yes, I do, and I don't even have relationships. I've been abstinence for over 10 years, and drugs, relationships never even been on my mind because of drugs.
Yeah, it basically just took control of your whole body.
Yeah, I did, and I can tell that relationships weren't reasonable or within reach, and I pretty much just sat back and observed people that did drugs and just kind of, witnessed the firsthand the tragedy that it causes.
What's the worst thing you've seen out on the streets?
People just blindly making decisions just because they're so paranoid. Like, let's say I'm following you and I'm aware you're gonna go buy drugs or you're gonna go do something. Like, just because I'm following you, you almost kind of like feel obligated to go about doing the things that you know you're not supposed to. So I literally see people doing that every day. Like, not to throw trash on the ground, so they grab trash real quick and they throw it, and then they get in their car and leave or stuff like that. It's pretty tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If somebody out there watching this video is thinking about using methamphetamine for the first time, what would you tell
I would tell them absolutely no. I would tell them that it drains you of any kind of nutrition. It drains you of any kind of like way that you could give back to the world, any kind of feeling you could have for that, and it drains you from communicating and talking with people who can help you with things that are simple in nature, like you feel like you don't belong in relationships, you feel like you're too ugly, you feel like you're too fat, you feel like those things are much more easier to solve without drugs.
them? Yeah. I think it's crazy, but also very insightful that you think that prison would help you get clean. I mean, so you said before, and we're going back to it, that you thought that prison could help you become clean, right? And it did the first time you went in, but then you came back out and you used again. What makes you think that if you went back, you'd make it this second time?
The chance to get to a work center and save up money is literally my last bit of faith. Like, I've been there 3 4 times now, in and out. I just did a rider last November, and I've literally my mind processes all these things, and getting to a work center and saving up enough money to get out, have a car, and everything I need to depend on myself is the only way, unless I get the Social Security disability, which I have an appointment for coming up in May.
Have you tried working at all?
Yeah, I have. I've tried numerous jobs. I worked at Wendy's just recently. I worked at Taco Bell recently, and then before I went to prison, I worked at McDonald's, and I never could get like on a good level with anybody. Like, there was always just something that they lacked or something I lacked, and we just butt heads and disagree on everything.
So just relationship issues, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
From the drugs.
Because you were using while you were working at those places.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you ever think, what would your life be like if you'd never done drugs?
No, I don't. I just try to take everything in consideration and
Yeah.
just continue to have faith and not to look down on myself or recall things that I've already given up that control. Because if you try to dwell on those things and you try to grasp those things, you'll find yourself just stuck in that moment, and then your mind won't have time to move forward.
Yeah. I think one thing you've got going for yourself is you're very young. You can definitely beat it.
Yes, definitely.
You can definitely beat it, man.
Yeah.
You're a young guy. And you've got awareness of the damage it's done to you, and you want out. So those are all good things. Because if you were saying, I don't want to quit, chances are you wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that you want to quit and you're able to verbalize it, you know the damage it's done to you, those are all good things.
Yes.
So in closing, I just want to thank you for sharing your story.
Of course.
It just takes courage and bravery, and I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you, only fellas.
Thank you, man.